Welcome to Meme Reads. Today we're covering Best of Redditor updates, where OP tells her husband to choose between her or her pregnant sister-in-law. This next post is from the user Amazing Mention 9502. Will I be the butthole? My dad got a tattoo in the same style as our matching tattoo, but with his new family, and now I want to get mine covered up. My father and my mother divorced 3 years ago. I now live with my mother, and my father remarried about a year ago. His wife has 2 children who are 18 and 15. I'm an 18-year-old girl, and my dad and I got matching tattoos about 2 years ago. It was a simple outline of a tattoo of just a photo of us. After my dad got married, things started to get a bit more distant between us because he started to spend more time with his new family. Besides that, I didn't think he wanted me to be around them. I don't know why, after all, I've never treated his wife or his stepchildren badly. Yesterday, he refused to meet me on the weekend when we were supposed to spend time together, saying he was unavailable, and then he reposted a story of him hanging out with his new family. But while looking at the photo, I saw that he had a new tattoo on his arm. It was an outline tattoo of a photo of him with his new family, just like the tattoo he got with me. Now, I know that millions of people have these tattoos, and it's not my original design, but I'm still disappointed that he got the tattoo with his new family in the exact same style as ours, because I thought that tattoo was special between us. Now I'm thinking about getting it covered or just removed. I called my dad in the evening and asked him why he was hanging out with his family instead of meeting me. He said that they planned it earlier, which doesn't even make sense because it was agreed in court after the divorce that I could spend time with my dad every weekend. So this quote, "we planned it earlier," was a pretty BS excuse. He also knows that I'm totally okay with spending time with his family. But when I told him that, he said, "it's not that simple." I guess I'm too dumb to understand the quote, "complicated things," because he doesn't even try to explain them. Then I asked him why he got his new tattoo in the same style as ours. He said that he didn't think it'd be a problem for me. I told him you broke something special between us. How can you not realize that? I think I'm gonna get my tattoo covered. You can do the same. In result, he thinks I'm overreacting and I shouldn't be so selfish. My mom says what my dad did wasn't such a bad thing. She thinks that we should sit down and talk, but I'm not so sure. Tomorrow I'm gonna try and talk to my dad face to face. I hope we can discuss this openly about whatever the issues are between us and find a way out. I don't think my mind will change about the tattoo, but I'm not in a rush to get it covered up. Thank you for your advice, and if things go well, I'll try and write an update. But for now, am I the butthole? This morning we had breakfast together and we had a long talk. It turned out the problem all this time was my stepsister. He told me that she was struggling with the whole marriage. The reason he got the tattoo was to show her that he loves her just as much as me. He said that she didn't feel at ease around me, which I was really surprised about. We hadn't even fought once, and we haven't even been together long enough to have any disagreements. That's why he didn't invite me that day. He wanted to be a good father figure in her life. Then he said, "you might get closer with your stepsister in time." Who knows when that is. He said I can get my tattoo covered if I want, but he would never do that to his. For him, the tattoo still has the same special meaning. Honestly, it'd make me feel like a butthole if I got mine covered up while he keeps his. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. Lastly, the hardest part for me was finding out that they're moving to another state. His wife got a better paying job and he's starting a business with a friend there. He told me that he will be very busy with all the moving and he'll spend as much time with me as possible until he moves. He promised to visit me often after the move, which I don't think he'll be able to keep that promise. I guess he's really moving into a part of his life where I'm just not in it, and there's not much I can do about it. Thank you all. Today, my stepbrother replied to my story and we started talking. I told him about the latest things and he told me a lot of things that I didn't know. He said that it's true that his stepsister doesn't really feel at ease around me, but she never said anything to my dad about not inviting me. In fact, her discomfort isn't so great that she can't stand to be in the same place with me. It was my stepmother who asked him not to invite me that day, and she came up with the idea of the tattoo. He said that his mom doesn't like my mom at all. He's not sure if it's based on anything or not, but when I asked my mom about it, she said that she's never even met this woman once. I think her dislike for me comes from her baseless hatred of my mom, and my dad just played along with her. Also, I didn't mention it here, but my dad told me that they're moving in November, and my stepbrother told me that they're actually moving next week, and that was the plan all along. He told me that he's sorry for what happened to me, and he only told me this because he thought that I had to know the truth. He also asked me not to let his mom know about this conversation. My dad wasn't really like that. He was a good man. I mean, all those lies, cutting me out of his life, that's not really like him. I don't understand why he turned into such a person, but I really don't want to talk to him to try and understand. He's moving away next week anyway. I told my mom about this and asked her to call my dad, tell him that I would never see him again. My mother passed this along to him without mentioning the conversation. I also blocked my dad from everywhere. Soon I will be getting the tattoo covered. Love you. OP, I'm so sorry this happened to you, and I'm glad that you're getting the tattoo covered up. I can't believe your father manipulated you into thinking that everything was okay after his new wife started plotting to push you out of the family. She's preventing you from coming over, she's moving the dad away, and she also made him get a new tattoo the exact same as yours of the new family. This seems like to me she's doing everything in her power to push you and your family out. And your father's either letting it happen because this is what he wants, or he's too much of a coward to stand up for himself and he just wants her. So since this is an AITI, I might as well give a score. OP, you get a rock solid 0 out of 5 buttholes. You were definitely mistreated in this situation, and I'm glad you're getting the tattoo removed. The evil stepmother and your cowardly father get a 4 out of 5 buttholes because they're doing everything in their power to push you away without telling you they don't want you. Which honestly, in my opinion, is just so despicable. If you really just want your daughter out of your life, then just freaking say it. Don't be a wussy.
I'd like to give a warning for this next post, as it has to deal with sensitive topics such as miscarriage and abuse. This will be the last post, so please feel free to leave the video. Anyways, let's move on to the next post. This next post is by PositiveU385. Am I the A for yelling at my pregnant sister-in-law and telling my husband to choose between me and her? See, I know the title sounds wrong, but please hear me out. I'm currently typing this all up while my husband's entire family is sitting downstairs right now. So, I'm a 29-year-old woman, and I've been married to my husband for 8 years. About 2 months ago, I had my 3rd miscarriage, at 31 weeks. I won't be talking about it because it makes me feel depressed, but you'll need to remember this. About 4 months ago, my sister-in-law came crying at our doorstep telling us that she's pregnant, and her boyfriend didn't want anything to do with the pregnancy, and that she had nowhere to go. My husband and I openly took her in. We welcomed her into our home with open arms. For the first few weeks, it was really hard for her, which was understandable. I sat with her for hours, holding her when she cried, binging our favorite TV shows, and eating so much ice cream that we literally fell into a coma. It was really bonding for us. Or so I thought. Here's where it starts to go downhill. I take pride in my neat, clean home. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, did not. She would leave her clothes all around the house, leave her dirty dishes wherever, and even went as far as leaving her certain toys on our living room table. I tried to talk to her directly before I talked to my husband, and she immediately cried and told me that she would be cleaner. I hugged her, told her that it was okay, but that this was a clear boundary for me. She told me that it wouldn't happen again, but it only got worse. She told me that I was expected to do her laundry, her dishes, and clean her room daily because she's the pregnant one. Well, I do understand how hard it is being pregnant. I just couldn't allow feeling like a maid in my own home. Disclaimer, I bought this house, not my husband. It was all me, not to mention my recent loss of my child. So I told my husband, but what he told me shocked me. His exact words were, "Honey, she's going through a lot right now. We really should be helping her out. Plus, it might make you feel better to take care of someone who's pregnant." I was pissed, to say the least. Make me feel better? She's going through a lot? We need to help her? Letting her stay with us wasn't enough? While I don't want to invalidate her pain, my husband and I were also going through our own problems. Anyways, we moved on. I did my best to maintain work in the household chores. My husband works 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so he isn't around to help much. I work full-time from home, so it's been super stressful. And whenever I try to ask for help from my sister-in-law, she always makes an excuse, even if she's just watching TV. The one thing that pushed me over the edge was when I went out to buy the one food that I actually enjoyed eating after my miscarriage. I wrote my name on it and directly asked my sister-in-law to not eat it. Well, I went to my fridge to get it, and you'll never guess, she freaking ate it. Now you may think, it's just food, but I buy all the groceries. Basically pay all the bills. I don't mind when people have some of my food, but the one thing that I asked not to be touched gets touched. I told my husband, and of course he rubbed it into my face that she's pregnant, and that I need to be less selfish, and that life is about sacrifices. I was so upset that I told him that I felt like him and her were both horrible roommates that people talk about on Reddit. He didn't take that very well, lol. Which leads us to my title. My sister-in-law planned a random baby shower party get-together thing at my house. I personally didn't know if I could even be home when this was happening. I felt so hurt that she wouldn't talk to me, knowing everything that's happened, and that she would just invite random strangers into another person's home before asking. My husband urged me to go to the party. I told him that it would permanently affect me and her relationship, so I told him that I'd go. About halfway through the party, my husband and sister-in-law announced that they wanted to show the nursery to everyone. I was confused. Nursery? She was staying that long? What room did she turn into a nursery? They told everyone to head upstairs, and that's when it hit me. They were talking about my nursery, for my baby, that I had just lost. A wave of emotions hit me when I saw everyone in my baby's nursery, telling her what a good job she did on setting it up. My setup, for my baby, that my body failed to give me. I just lost it. I started sobbing. Then, that sadness turned into pure rage. I started yelling at my sister-in-law, telling her that she's the foulest human for putting me through everything that she has for the past few months, making me feel like I was a maid or an object for her convenience. Through choked up tears, I turned to my husband, whose jaw was on the floor. I turned my head to see that his entire family was just staring at me. I lost it again. I started yelling. I looked at my sister-in-law, telling her, "How dare you use my nursery for my baby? How dare she think that she has the right?" What she told me made me fall on my knees sobbing. "It's not my fault you couldn't produce a child. Why let this go to waste? You're so selfish." My husband tried to pick me up off the floor, but I yelled again, standing to my knees, which were now shaking. I told him, "Pick." He had a dumbfounded look on his face. I yelled again, "Pick, me or her." He couldn't even muster up anything to say. I just looked at him. Pure betrayal. I pushed past the crowd of family and ran straight up here to type this out. Even if no one sees this, at least it helped me get these emotions out. Now it's to the point where I ask, am I the butthole? After posting my story on Reddit, I sat on my bed, wiping my tears and telling myself that I will not take this disrespect. I walked downstairs, shutting my nursery door on the way, and I was greeted with everyone comforting my sister-in-law. I kindly asked everyone besides my sister-in-law and husband to respectfully get the F out of my house. After all the dirty looks and shaming, it was just my husband, sister-in-law, and myself. They sat themselves on the couch, not saying anything. I sat with them. The silence felt like forever, and none of us had anything to say. I knew that I'd have to be the one to start the conversation. I looked at my husband and said, "Did you decide?" He looked at me, just staring. I asked again in a firm tone this time, "Did you decide?" He ended up mumbling some sort of insult, and I couldn't really make out what he said. Something with bitchy. I stood up and told them both to get out. Then they wanted to talk. They started telling me that this is all a misunderstanding, they're sorry, blah blah blah. I grabbed a backpack from my shoe closet and told them to pack their stuff. My sister-in-law told me that I couldn't just make her leave, and that I was a horrible person. I laughed in her face and told her that this is my house, and I can do whatever I want. My husband stood next to me and told her it's only for a little while. That's when I turned to him and said, "Oh, you two, get out." He got all mad and told me that we were a married couple and that this isn't how a marriage works. I told him, no, it's not. Marriage is where two people support each other and not treat their wife like shit. They both ended up leaving after many insults toward me. Oh, but wait. This morning, as I was getting ready for a Zoom meeting with a few other coworkers, my husband showed up. I let him in, telling him to get whatever he needed and to go because I had to work. He started apologizing and telling me he wants to make it right. I told him I just need to get time away from him. Then he threw in my face, "Well, it's not my fault you lost our children. Maybe this would have never happened." Wow. OP, I just want to let you know I audibly gasped the first time I read that. My sister was right. You are selfish. I have never, ever made my husband feel like he cannot grieve with me over this. Never made him feel less than because of his pain. I turned and slapped him in the face. I never condone violence, and I'm very upset that I would ever do that to another human, but I just couldn't deal with this. He took a step back and then threw all of my makeup on the floor, but then he started breaking all of my decor in the bathroom. I yelled at him to stop and that I was sorry, but he just kept going, even going as far as punching a hole in my bathroom wall. It was like I was seeing all of his bottled up emotions from our children's death come out, but he went too far when he tried to grab me, yelling in my face. I kicked him off and told him to get the f*** out. He walked out of the bathroom, and I watched him break a few more items as he left. The second he left, I had a panic attack, looking at the mess he made, to even just seeing how much he hid his pain. I called my mother and told her everything that's been happening. She told me that she was on her way. The second that she got there, I just broke down and she held me. Then she stood up and started taking pictures of everything he broke. I asked her what she was doing, and she turned to me and said that we're suing this piece of shit. I honestly didn't even argue. I was so hurt by everything that my husband did to me. My mom packed up my computer and I grabbed a few outfits. My mom and I drove to a hotel and she insisted on staying with me while I finished up my work, and my mom called a locksmith and my attorney. I will be divorcing him as well. So there it is. Here's my update for everyone that's been waiting for it. I feel guilty for just giving up on my husband and 8 years of our marriage, but it's time for a divorce. I can't live like this, and neither can my husband. I wish I could say that we moved on, forgave each other, and I got to see my sister-in-law have her baby, but that's not the reality. If anything else happens, I'll let you all know. OP, I'm so sorry that you went through this, and I'm so happy that you're divorcing him. You definitely need to get out of there. Big props to your mom for helping you out, by the way. She did exactly what she needed to do. That's insane to me that your husband would just completely disregard your feelings and give away the nursery while you're still in the middle of grief to his sister who's pregnant. To me, it seems like your husband was really grieving the loss of his child, and instead of grieving with you, he went headfirst into this new baby without regarding your feelings or what's best for the family.
That was Meme Reads. If you enjoy this content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Peace. Today we're covering Best of Redditor updates, where today OP fuck me in the boy.